It's great to hear the journey of a fellow beta program manager. So I'd love to hear just how you got started into beta or into your career.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense to probably go all the way back to the beginning. So for those of you who are watching this on video, you may see a William and Mary flag behind me. I live right outside of Washington, D.C., and went to William and Mary and studied psychology, and then went to George Mason University and studied educational psychology. So you might be thinking, how did you go from educational psychology to beta testing for a B2B software platform? And it's one of those things where every move in my career has made sense based on where I was immediately prior. But if you look from like point A to point E, it doesn't immediately make sense. So right after grad school, I went to a company that did educational research, and we also had our own proprietary survey platform. So we did surveys for public school districts around the country. And then after a few years of that, I realized that was a little bit niche and I wanted to expand into the tech space in general. So I went to a company that did tech research. So I started there as a research analyst. And then after I had been there for about 9 months, they were trying to launch their own survey platform. And I thought, I know a thing or two about survey platforms, not in this context, but it's still a B2B survey platform. So that's how I got into product management. And I felt like everything clicked for me in that moment. I had the aspects of research that I loved, but it was customer facing and I was getting deeper into the technology. And I was an associate product manager for a year there, which was basically like product management 101. And I loved that. And I did that for 6 more years before I got into beta testing. So I went to another company after that where I was doing product management for a sales training company. So not education in the traditional K through 12 or higher education sense, but corporate education and professional development. And I was still working with instructional designers because we were trying to bring our intellectual property into a Salesforce integrated platform. And then I went to Appian 3 years ago, which is where I currently work as a beta program manager, but I was a senior product manager there for a number of years. So Appian is a B2B low-code business automation platform is probably the best way to describe that. I know that sounds a little jargony, but what that means is people like me who have no background whatsoever in computer science can actually learn how to build a business process app so that big businesses can automate their entire business. So I've been there since June 2020, and just this past April, I transitioned into managing all of our beta programs. And I made that jump because I missed the customer-facing aspects of my role. I was doing some customer-facing work, but it was a bit more focused on actually designing and developing the software, which was an exciting experience. And I learned a ton, but I wanted to get a little bit closer to the go-to-market activities and the customer-facing stuff that we do at Appian. So a new opportunity to lead the beta programs came up, and I thought, on top of doing more customer-facing work, I actually had the ability to build a beta program for the ground up, or from the ground up, which sounded like a super cool opportunity and something I had never done before. So luckily, our VP of product launch took me on, and I've been doing that for about 5 months now.
That's great. I love the story. I have a similar research background, and I had that same kind of transition from research into product management. And what's cool, I'll point this out because I feel like it's now kind of a little more innate in you, is that curiosity. Research, you're doing it to like get answers, like see what's going on. You have like hypothesis, you want to go test it out. You have questions you need to get answered. And product management's like so much in that same vein, right? Like I'm trying to build a solution to someone's problems, so I need to understand what those solutions are. So that's really cool hearing just that like little bit of a background on you. And then jumping from product management into beta to kind of stand up your program. Again, naturally curious, poking around like how am I going to get started in this? How am I going to build this program? Before you stepped in, how was beta being run by, like you were a product manager, how was beta being run without that centralized resource?
Yeah, so actually, as a product manager, I had never done a beta program at Appian, but our company had done a few beta programs over the last several years, and it was a bit more ad hoc. It was product managers kind of doing it on the side, which as you know, for product management and beta management, it's a full-time job in and of itself. It's hard to do kind of on the side. So, yeah, we had product managers and our consultants who actually do implementations of Appian apps for customers. They were helping as well. So it was sort of an all hands on deck, but there was no centralized function that was project managing and program managing the initiatives and deciding what we want to do beta programs on and who's going to run what. And I think because of that, we still had successful beta programs where we got the information we needed prior to launching new products. But it was clear after doing that for a few rounds that we needed to centralize the function and have somebody really owning it. So it's not one more thing that product managers have to do in addition to their jobs that are probably already taking over 40 hours a week. So
definitely. Yeah. If you got a 40-hour plus product manager having to pick up the jobs of a beta program manager as like just part of their job, so it doesn't seem like a very helpful to their anxiety problems of trying to get good products out the door. And so,
and the product managers are still super involved, don't get me wrong, especially because it is just me. And at the end of the day, they're the subject matter experts on what they're building. They're designing the product alongside their user experience designers, and they're working with their software engineers every day to implement things. So it's not like I can just go off and run a beta program. They're very much involved every step of the way, but I can take a lot of that overhead and operational stuff off of their plate so they can focus on building the product, and then someone else is focusing on keeping the beta program moving without them having to follow up with 20 customers or, chase things down from legal or whatever it might be operational wise.
And you could pick up so many more specific best practices and skills, and you get to develop those skills rather than I just have to do a little bit of beta, so I don't need to put a lot of effort into it. So by giving that domain knowledge to a specific resource rather than like spreading it thin, I think it allows for far more efficiency and effectiveness for your programs. So product managers get to make the decisions on the product and they get to read that data or review that data from you, who's got it in the best way, who's got the best information, because you get to spend the time and devote the energy to getting the right information.
Right, exactly.